Can you imagine a world with no light? Centers for Children and Families is here to keep the light on.
Centers has several programs. The founding program that began back in 1957 was the clinical counseling program. In 1992, we opened the clinical counseling program in Odessa.
I began my journey by bringing my 3-year-old to Centers to do the active play, and I brought my son at 3 to the play therapy so that he could be involved in social interaction, be able to provide good guidance in an atmosphere of a counselor to help him with his journey of making friends and going through that social interaction at that odd age of 3.
I first began my journey with Centers when my husband committed suicide about 9 years ago. For the kids, having a person that they knew they could fall back on. Sometimes that was me, but I was going through my stuff too, so sometimes I couldn't be the best support. So that's where Centers came in.
Recently, I had a 7-year-old client come in. His mom said that he was not sleeping at night, was not eating, not being able to focus at school, acting out even a little bit at school. So found out that dad was, deployed, and that the little boy was missing him. Even though they were using FaceTime and, on occasion when they could, it just didn't seem like it was enough for him. And then, I think he had seen on the news, stories of people being killed. And so I think he just had this gut fear that that could happen to his dad. So, we talked about all the things that he knew about, what does your dad wear? How does he try to keep safe? All the things that I think dads and moms prepare their kids for whenever they're being deployed. I just think at 7 years old, he just didn't quite understand that his dad could be okay and that it could not be okay. His whole thing was, I feel like every day is a day we're going to find out that something has happened to him. So he happened to be in the playroom, and there was a little transformer toy there, and he picked it up and played with it every time he came in. So I just, the light bulb went off for me, and I said, how about we talk about this being your dad? Because they can transform, from like just something to, they have all this body armor on, and they're tough, and they go and they save the world, and they're okay. And it was just like, from that moment on, he would always, whenever he would start feeling, fearful or anxious for his dad, he would always just say, but he's got on his transformer gear.
I have been affiliated since my daughter was 2 years old, and she is now 18. We went to a parenting class. I was a single mom and just looking for something to go to, kind of not knowing what I was doing as a new mother. It was absolutely amazing class. They definitely gave you resources on how to speak to your children, things that children kind of go through as going through a divorce or being a single mom or whatever issues that those kids go through, and you do as well as a parent, and they really helped guide you and provide those resources to help you through those times.
As a mom involved with Centers, and knowing how Centers is making an impact. First part, every kid needs love. That can happen at home, but sometimes it isn't as much love as they really need, or sometimes they need a little different love. They need to know more than just mom cares or just dad. And Centers provides love, but it also provides hope. And it's the hope that is, to me, one of the biggest differences between suicide or not. When you have hope, you don't have to go that route.
There's a lot of conversation in Midland these days about improving quality of life and facilitating the attraction and retention of personnel into the Permian Basin. It's a challenge, and we won't, as my friend Patrick Payton likes to say, we should have a goal of being known for being as successful above the ground as we are successful below the ground. And we're not going to get to that goal unless we have the kind of social services and mental health services that Centers provides to anyone, regardless of their means and ability to pay.
Actually, our family became connected with Centers through the Junior League of Midland. So my sister Leslie was a Junior League member, and she was insistent when I moved home that I join the Junior League. And of course, Centers for Children and Families was born out of the Junior League in the late 50s. So it's been a great legacy of wonderful, wonderful people that started it, wonderful people who have created it, and wonderful people that will continue to see the mission grow.
You know, one of the things about our oil industry that's so vibrant in West Texas, it's a very hard work environment. We have men and women working 80 to 100 hours a week. They're making lots of money, but that puts a lot of stress on the family too when they come back home, because the dads are away quite a bit. And then how does that affect the family? How does it affect the wife and the children? How does that work into our school system? And I think it's very important for us when we have this blessing of this oil energy, that's the renaissance that's taking place right now, how it is affecting everyone in our community. And it's not always for the good. We have a lot of problems that are cropping up in our schools, both in Midland and Odessa and in the surrounding communities. So you need somebody, you need a place like Centers for these families to turn to. In some cases, it's helping these families to survive, and then hopefully they can thrive from that experience with Centers down the road.
The Kids First program is an opportunity for children to see their non-custodial parent in the visits. You can watch children become very comfortable in the setting and very comfortable with that parent that they no longer live with, and building a trust with each other, the child building the trust. And let me say here that Kids First exists for the kids. That's why they call it Kids First.
My breast cancer journey started 8 years ago. And I remember, I think it's one of those times when you never forget the moment that the doctor calls and tells you you have cancer. So for someone to lead me to Centers, and Centers was, on my insurance, and I called, I got an excellent therapist, and you could just talk. And it's just, you walk in the room, you sit down, and the emotions are all high, or you're upset, and you just walk out of there differently. It not only helped me personally, it also helped my marriage. As a believer in what Centers does, because it did it for me, I would say that when I would go to the receptionist area to check out, or and knowing that I didn't have to pay anything additional because of how Centers works, now I know that it was because of the generosity of others, that you don't have to. I can't tell you how much of a relief that was for me to know that, okay, here's an additional bill I don't have to pay right now at a time when just living was all I needed to do.
For one thing, we can't ever and would never name names. It's amazing the number of people, though, that once they find out I am involved with Centers, they say, oh, we're so blessed to have that resource in our community. And they tell me the story of a friend. Maybe it's a friend, maybe it's, them. But I think it's incredible the number of people, the quiet stories you never hear of the people who have been helped by Centers.
We are asking you to help us keep the light on for others.
Help us be the light.
Be the light for someone.
Be the light for someone.
Help us be the light.
Help us be a light for sinners.
Be the light for sinners.
Be the light for sinners.
Help sinners be the light.
Help sinners be the light.
Be a light for sinners.